There's a quiet confusion inside many Christian marriages. We affirm that sex is good. We affirm that marriage is sacred. That when it comes down to how intimacy should actually function inside a covenant, many couples are left with silence, embarrassment, or vague moralism. Some men swing toward restraint and caution to the point of coldness. Others react against that and drift toward indulgence without structure. Neither extreme produces joy. Today, I'm joined by Aaron Clarey to discuss his new book, I Don't Want a Threesome with Jesus, The Christian's Guide to a Pro-Sex Marriage. Our aim in this conversation is not shock value, it's clarity. What does it mean to be unapologetically pro-sex within biblical marriage? How do enthusiasm and holiness coexist? And what responsibility does a man have to carry out in cultivating intimacy that is warm, ordered, and life-giving? If you are a married Christian man who wants your intimacy to be alive, disciplined, and deeply aligned with your faith, this discussion is for you. Aaron, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming on. So I picked up this book of yours and I went ahead and saw you just post about it once. And I'm like, I'm sold. I got to get this because Aaron knows what he's talking about in so many other domains that surely he's going to have some amazing insights from an outside perspective that's going to go ahead and cause Christian men to look at this issue differently than they had been instructed in the church and in their regular course of life. So out of curiosity, if you were to go ahead and boil it down to maybe 2 or 3 sentences, what's the thesis of the book?
The thesis of the book is to get both Christian men and women to have a pro-sex life within Christianity, largely because what I've seen is Christian men, sincere Christian men, are being taken advantage of people who are not sincere Christians, largely women who claim to be Christians but aren't. And they are basically using the religion against men to secure commitment, money, resources, marriage from these men, a lot of times with no intention of reciprocating with intimacy and sex. And so it's basically to prevent sexless marriages, which, depending on the statistics you want to measure, and it's both secular and religious, but you're looking at about 1/3 of marriages that don't have sex. And I've in my past, I was Christian. My dad was a pastor, and I'm secular now. But I dated a lot of gals, and a lot of them were Christian. And I was just like, no, I can't do this. I can't see this because there are so many fake people posing as Christians. And because men have a very vested interest in having sex, a lot of people are using that, manipulating that against men. A lot of times within the church, that I, as kind of like an outside observer, want to come in and say, like, hey, these people are not playing by Christian rules. They are secularists coming in, taking advantage of you. And in this, unless you're aware of that, your religion is a weakness in this particular case. So you need to get a little bit more street smart about the realities of what's going on in the dating market, romance, and everything, particularly in Christian market and Western civilizations, so that you don't get hoodwinked into this. And so that was the motivation that prompted me to write this essay.
Awesome. Well, I think that one of the coolest things that you go ahead and really bring out in the book is the idea that men have been suckered into the idea that there's only one set of rules in terms of how to be a good Christian husband. Whereas I think that the really key thing that men could really get a hold of your book and learn from is the idea that there are 2 separate rules for men. Can you go ahead and go into that for a little bit?
Yeah, there's any religion, you're going to have your religious set of rules that you got to follow, but that does not negate or deny that there's natural law, human law, a set of rules in, quote, the real world or outside of your religion that you also have to obey. Perfect example would be biology, God program. You could say it was God or whatever, but men are horny. Surprise, that's universal across every human being, all right? Men are horny. You got to abide by that. You have to abide by the laws of physics, the golden rule. Now, a lot of that, there's an overlap. 10 Commandments kind of map on well to secular law. But when you're religious, regardless of your religion, and assuming, this is a key thing, you actually believe The fear of God should make you want to follow the religious rules you have just as much as being ostracized, thrown in jail, etc. You would be following the secular rules. And this just makes for a harder life. It, I think, leads to being a better man, a better person, because you're trying to obey a set of rules and edicts to become a better, more honorable person via religion, and then just obeying laws and respecting other people in society for secular. But it's hard. And then the other problem, though, is with particularly Christianity, because man, there's some things in there. It exposes Christians to be manipulated and taken advantage of people opposing as Christians. So I know they don't give blank forgiveness. I know grace. I know there's requirement. I know there's passages where if it's not sincere apology, you're not really forgiving. Yeah, but God can see that. But you'll see literal retired prawn actresses coming in, and now you'll find some warped branch of Christianity, and they'll be put in charge of a speaking tour. They'll be held up and look at this. And so having these religious rules, particularly in Christianity, exposes a lot, especially Christian men, to be taken advantage of and hoodwinked by, in short, manipulating your natural sex drive. And so this book was written kind of like as a secular guy. It's like some country bumpkin comes to the city and doesn't understand the street. It's like, look, buddy, you can't. No, don't give that guy money. He's a bum. No, that guy twitching, he doesn't need your help. So there's an element of secular street smarts I wanted to introduce because I'm even though I'm not Christian, it doesn't mean I hate Christians. Absolutely not. I'm looking at my Christian brothers and I'm kind of like, dude, you guys are getting so duped. Here's some hard and fast secular rules that you need to follow. Here's some weaknesses, not necessarily in the religion, but how you're interpreting the religion. And yeah, I know she's pretty, but she's not Christian. So that's kind of what the intent of this was, with the ultimate goal of making it so that you're not in a sexless marriage. That was the main thing, is like, so that you don't end up in a sexless marriage.
Yeah, I think that one thing that you really go ahead and hit on so much in the earlier part of the book is the idea of, hey guys, you need to be hot to be attractive. You need to get in the gym. You need to go ahead and be attractive, not only to your wife, but chances are you're going to be having a much better sex life in your marriage if you're attractive, not just to your wife, but to a lot of women, because you and I both know that they go ahead and look around and they can tell when other women are looking at their man.
Right. And that's a perfect example. That's great. The religion said this. That's great. The Bible said that. Girls are still going to be girls biologically. They're going to gossip. And no, they don't want to have sex with a guy who's got a gut. It really is kind of, I would say this, to provide an analogy, the secular law is more like, okay, what kind of engine do you want to put in your car? What kind of transmission? Your basics. What kind of suspension? And then the biblical stuff is, all right, do you want air conditioning? Do you want whatever, satellite? Do you want turbo? Things that without this foundational, you need wheels, an engine, and a transmission. Otherwise, you ain't got a car. And you need to address that. You need to play by both sets of rules. Girls can't force themselves to be attracted to you. You're either are physically attractive and they can't control it, right? They may not like your personality, but they're like, damn, look at that guy. Doing that and obeying those secular laws is going to make it a lot easier when it comes to the religious rules that you have to follow. And then, as we're mentioning briefly before, I think it's a lie where you get in shape, you all get married, and then everyone gains weight. I think it's a lie, a bait and switch, false advertising, where you get out of shape and then your wife is somehow expected to have sex with you. Like, that's a horrible situation to be in, is where, someone is forced to have sex with someone that they no longer find physically attractive. So both men and women cannot deny these secular rules or biological rules. Men, you should be in shape. All right. You should also not be a loser. And I don't mean to be like, men need to man up and all that stuff. I'm trying to point out more of a brass tack. You need 4 wheels for the car to work, not 2, not 3. You need 4. And ladies, it's equivalently so. You need to lose weight the same, da, da, da. We could go into other amenities we'd like at our cars, like obedience, silence, not having other men's kids, no debt, other stuff like that. But at the base level, if you're both physically attractive, that's going to solve a lot of problems at the end of the day. And so you could go to Bible study all you guys want and pray, and the Lord will provide and outsource that responsibility. Or you could go to the gym and you could tell me which one works out better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think you're trying to go ahead and paint a picture that, oh, hey, men just need to work harder. I think that a lot of men just need to work to begin with. I think a lot of men are just not doing the work that they need to be doing and not holding themselves and other people in their sphere of influence to a high standard. And so because of that, they end up with the results they get. And so when we talk about like ideas in Christianity where men are convinced that they shouldn't have sex before marriage, and then that once they're in marriage, that things are going to go well. What isn't being told is there are certain things you got to do ahead of time for that to make sense, first of all. And second of all, I don't want men to be duped by the idea of, hey, you're going to have this prize at the end of the rainbow, but guess what? The end of the rainbow never comes.
Right. Exactly. And it's kind of, it really is, you got to put in the work to make it work. Like, and previous to our conversation before, I think Christianity in particular, where the naivete that you can follow just the biblical rules, right? Where I'm a goody two shoes Christian, and I went to Bible study, and I actually read the Bible, and I'm sincere and I'm penitent, and like, yeah, okay, that's great. That's not going to turn her on. It's, you and you need to be hot, and you need to, like, I don't know, be able to repair a lawnmower, and you need to have your financial act together and all that. And I think a lot of people abuse that. You're just as girls, girls will use the religion too. But secularly, women will believe what the media and Disney and Oprah tells them, that just around the corner, there's Brad Pitt, and he's going to propose, and he's going to have $1 million, billion, $1 trillion. He's just going to want to, oh my God, he's just amazing. Meanwhile, you're this, 180-pound, 5'3" woman. Like, no, it's not going to happen. And I think both men and women use this, the Lord will provide. And it's like, no, you have an obligation to take agency in the life that God gave you, become the best person you could possibly be. And that is going to make everything else a lot easier when you have those basics down. So I think that the Lord will provide. And if I'm just a good Christian man, then things will go well. No, God doesn't go to girls and say, hey, see that schlub over there who's never seen the inside of a gym, and he's still, I don't know, I'm trying to, and he doesn't really hustle, and he doesn't have a set of tools because he doesn't know how to fix anything. Yeah, God's just going to turn her heart like that. No, it doesn't work that way. There's probably more important miracles that need to be worked. So don't ask God to like turn the heart of some girl to find you amazing and start being your little personal prawn star in bed. You need to go and make it so that happens naturally. And so you can either rely on God and magic, or you could put in the work and get what you want in the end. And both, and I know I'm being hard on men, but the only reason, and this book is largely directed towards men, but that's because you have agency and control over it. Those are the ones that usually, you control your weight, you control whether you have how many girls you ask out. You control those things. So that's why I'm focusing on men, because you're the ones that have agency. I've tried telling women what to do. It doesn't work. So that's why I don't really bother with it. But I would be equally critical of women, which I am in here a fair amount, but it is dedicated to men because you're the ones that are going to have to make these changes yourself. It's under your control.
Yeah, that's interesting because you bring up something in the book where you spent a good chunk of the book going over this, the idea of people insisting on control over people's sex lives. And you go ahead and delineate a lot of different groups of people. But when I went ahead and looked through it, I put it under two general umbrellas. You've got feminists on one side and simps on the other side.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, I could see that. Yes.
So can you kind of go into that a little bit and like how you see what does it benefit them to do that?
Oh gosh. Well, there's so many of the people. I mean, if we're going to go to like simplified,
Yeah,
simps,
simplified.
simps and feminists. All right. Feminists, I even say it. They're miserable quantahahas. Feminists just, they're miserable. They hate men. I'm not going to do this. Oh, it's just about the equal treatment. No, it is a culture and religion of hate. It is a cult of hate. And also I think a lot of it is driven by regret and fear, because now you have so many older feminists. They cannot stand to see young people getting married, having fun, falling in love. They have to, so that their life was not a waste. There's a tremendous psychological push on the part of feminists to make it that no one can have a happily married nuclear family, Christian or not. So and since their entire sad, pathetic lives have been built upon men being oppressors and women being victims, there's this entire philosophical, psychological motivation that you need to deny men sex. No one can be happy. Men had to be the enemy the entire time. So there's a tremendous political, psychological, mentally ill, prideful motivation on part of feminists, whether that's the prude in Christian church who's clutching her pearls and thinks everything is lust, or your rank doctorate feminist from the 60s. That is huge. And then they also filter in their opinion through politics, media, and all that. So that would be your feminist side of things. And then the simps, to simplify it, they just don't want to work. That really is, at the end of the day, whether you're doing sneaky fucker game or I'm a nice guy, there's no nice is weak. I mean, I remember this because I was a young man when I was a teenager. You know, I was like, oh, and they told us, right? A lot of it's lies too. They propagandize you. Oh, just be your self-sensitive 90s guy, if any of you were around for that. And we're like, well, how convenient, because I don't want to go to the gym. The gym sucks. It's boring. It's lifting and put it back down, lift it up, put it back down. To this day, I hate the gym. But at the end of the day, this whole idea that the girl's going to like you for you. Oh God, she likes me for me. Well, great, because I like eating ice cream and playing video games and drinking booze and doing nothing. This is I'm going to find a girl that's going to find that, and she's going to say, oh my God, I love this guy over here who's just like every other guy doing pot and going nowhere in his life, right? So that sloth, I mean, you default set to sloth, right? And you're like, well, good, that's me. You know, like, no, it was a lie. But a lot of guys keep that lie going on because they don't want to do hard work. And here I will point, and we'll become political. Every, I'd say, Democrat under 50, male, that is the poster child of the simp. They don't want to do a real job or a career. So they avoid math, STEM, accounting, the trades. They think they're going to get laid agreeing with women all the time, whether that's going to feminist protests or Democrat protests or whatever. I don't know if you remember Mattress Girl back in the day, and the guy was carrying the mattress, like 15 years old now. They agree with their politics, and at the end of the day, it's all a lie because they just want to get laid, but they don't want to put the effort into it. And you'll see it happen where the girl will, you know, some guy, but I'm the good boy. I'm the good guy. I did the Democrat thing. I did this. And you can even see that in Christianity. Well, I went to church and I did the Bible study. I'm a good Christian. But yeah, you're only doing that because you don't want to go do the hard work and get a job, get a life, get some muscles, and actually become a man. And so those are the two groups then, very generally speaking, that have a curious interest in the sex lives of everyone, but particularly Christians as it pertains to this book.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. So if I were to go ahead and distill that down a little bit, so on the side of feminists, for the most part, it's like a sunk cost fallacy where they went ahead and bought into the programming that was given to them by their sisterhood, you know, generations past, and they've lived it out, and it has yielded variable results depending on the quality of the woman or how hot she is. Generally speaking, that's how it lines up. Is the hotter the woman, the more likelihood she's got a better relationship. And the ones that are not hot and do not have happy relationships get to go ahead and act like screeching harpies to all the other women to try to keep them in line. And then at the same time, go ahead and screech at men and say, oh, hey, you need to go ahead and wife up these hoes.
Right. And I might also add their gunpowder is gone because they're old. They cannot go back they can't go back and get the guy anymore because they're old. And that's one important thing. If there's any Christian women listening, is like, it doesn't matter. You're going to age. Your youth is only here for a little bit of time. You better use it to go find yourself a quality man. But that's another reason they have to go back and destroy everyone's lives and make them miserable, because they can't go back in time and recapture that youth.
Sure. And I mean, in a lot of ways, they've been lied to. They're like, hey, go get a career, go support yourself. Men are dangerous. Men can't be trusted. You can't go ahead and depend on a man. Yeah, men are so scary. And then they go ahead and look at the top, 1/10 of 1% of men and say, oh, they're representative of all men. And you and I both know that that's not necessarily the case, right? There's a relatively few amount of men that are controlling everything. And like, that's just how it's been since the beginning of time. So what are we going to do? Just argue against history? That doesn't make any sense. You're much better off taking agency and aligning yourself with how systems actually work to get what you want to get. But like you said before, men are substantially more agentic than women are, generally speaking. Women tend to be passive, which I think is in line with, feminine reality. To be feminine is to be passive and acted upon, whereas to be masculine is to be active and to act upon the world. Does that make sense? Or is that kind of the
it's almost like it was designed a certain way, like a yin and a yang and a balance, and you will be strong in this field but weak in there, and then the other person will be strong where you are weak and weak where you are, and then maybe you come together and help each other out. But I'm not a biologist. What the hell do I know?
It's almost like we've been designed to work together for a common purpose or something.
Mike, did you notice that women have these things called boobs? Did you notice?
Man,
I don't have boobs. I don't know. What are those for? I wonder what that's the weirdest thing, man.
Yeah, they're multi-purpose, and that's a good thing. Now, out of curiosity, you go ahead and give a lot of background to how this looks like and kind of how this has come to be in our modern age. What I'd like to see is, what do you see a good Christian marriage with a good, healthy sex life? What does it look like in practice?
Well, you're both physically attractive to the other person, right? Now, we can't all look like George Clooney and all that, but we're not all 10s, but I'd see a 5 with a 5, a 6 with a 6, a 7 with a 7. And you know what? I'd see them smiling. Have you ever run into that couple where like they're 50 years old and they're still spanking each other in the ass or pinching each other like that? The guy's got a little bit of weight on him, but when he goes to church, he's not wearing pajamas. He's wearing a suit, and she's there with a dress. If there's kids or not, okay, fine. There's kids. They're normal, well-behaved kids. They're not with their phone. They're not got, wearing nylon on their arm. They're not emo kids. They're the brother and sister are fighting over a toy. They're normal. It would just be whether or not the family's happy. And you can look at it like they're still having sex. That I don't know how else to describe it, but it's like, I bet you they go home and they kick the kids out. And then when the kids are away, they're banging in the kitchen. So I don't know how to describe that, but we've all witnessed it. Like, that's a happy couple. And then the way they would dress or comport themselves, like, oh, I could see, yeah, that couple are still sexually active. So it's not to say everything is about the sex. There's happiness and joy and charm and humor and all that other stuff. But you just look at them and you're not like, oh, yeah, they're arguing, or, she's tight-lipped or anything like that. So I don't know how else to describe it, but they would be put together. They're not wearing pajamas. The lady doesn't wear those ridiculous furry boots. The guy is not overweight, right? There's exercise, there's activity, something like that. But they just have a glow about them that would define them. But then in terms of actual actions, like what's a happy marriage? You enjoy each other. You go out together. You laugh. She hits you. The classic hits you right here with the back of her hand. that's more important than her kissing you. That's like when you say something naughty and she, oh, stop it, that kind of thing. You're flirting, you're sparring. Yes, you're having sex. It doesn't have to be crazy acrobatic sex, but you're having sex. And that you hope someday your kids go have more kids and you can have a Christmas together or Thanksgiving together. That would be what I would say would be a happy pro-sex marriage.
Yeah, so you're looking at different...
At the base of it, you have to like each other at the end of the day is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so it's interesting because you're describing a lot of outward behaviors and outward signs that would be indicative to somebody looking behind the curtain that something else is going on.
Right.
So I think this is really interesting because I talk to my kids a lot. So I've got 4 kids and my 2 olders are 15 and 14 respectively. And so something we talk about a lot is my wife and I model a good relationship for them so that they don't go into the world with a broken idea of what relationships should look like. Right. So like my wife and I, we flirt all the time. We go ahead and say naughty things out in public and my kids get grossed out. And the thing is, they get grossed out. But the thing is, deep down inside, they are happy because they know that their parents love each other and that they want the best for each other.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I, this would go for any relationship, but sparring. Like just picking on each other and flirting and grossing your kids out, that's good. But just a little poking, just a little, see like that, because if you can't josh with one another, it's just merely an association. But yes, when you see fun and playful interaction, yes, that is absolutely what I think would be a good marriage.
One thing that I find really funny is my children, the older 2, have gotten so used to it that it is normal for them and it is expected for them. And so they'll go ahead and hop on the bandwagon every now and then too, because we play like Dungeons and Dragons on Friday nights at our store. And every now and then I'll go ahead and make some sly comment at the table and the kids know exactly what's going on. And it is hilarious with everybody else at the table. And it's just a good time enjoyed together. So if you were to go ahead and take your thought process in all of this and distill down maybe like 5 key things that guys can do to really put themselves in a better position, because you understand that men are the agentic ones in this situation.
Right. Yeah.
So if you were to distill it down to 5 actions that would give them the best return on investment, what would you provide as advice to guys, generally speaking?
Well, in the book, I mentioned it 4 times, but I'll only mention it once here. It's called Be Hot. I even say that in the book, and it's like a third in. I'm like, if you could just be hot, the chances of you getting divorced or going into couples therapy drops like 80%. And the chances of you not having a good sex life drops by 80% because it addresses the key. I want my car to go faster. Put a bigger engine in it. Oh my gosh, it's going faster. Right. So that's the number one thing. And I would say it's non-negotiable. All right. Go to the gym, get a haircut, whatever it is, right? Cologne. I'm not saying you have to be a fashionista the entire time, but you should probably put on a little bit better clothes here and there. So, become your, I equate it that you want, what is it? The wife should be your porn star and you should be your sex toy. Okay. That's what we're kind of aiming for. There ain't no sexy fat sex toy. So that's number 1 is be hot. Number 2, at the initial stages, ask out a lot of girls and date a lot of girls. That's the number 2 thing, especially for younger men. And I understand online dating is a waste of time. A lot of, they're not even real accounts, right? Girls got attitude and lip and all that. It is a open, wide flank right now to go up to girls in the real world and ask them out. It doesn't even forget. Are you single? You want to go out? That's it. That's all you have to do. It doesn't have to be Don Juan polished. Just ask out more girls in person. I mean, don't go crazy and, harass an entire community. But if you see a cute girl, like, hey, are you single? That's all you got to do. The third thing, I would become because you got to get married to have sex within the Christian religion. Get real good at identifying authentic, sincere women. And I mean that both Christian and secular as well. Oh my God, my name's Tina, and I majored in communications, and I have, $60,000 in student debt, and no. I know men we have more agency, but you cannot find just this twig in the river that's pushed around all the time. The woman has to make some agency, some choices too. Is she in shape? Does she have ridiculous tattoos or a nose ring? Is she just the same common mass-produced girl, of which there's 120 million of them, that have their worthless liberal arts degree? Does she have a job? Does she have good finances? Ultimately, is this a sincere, authentic, independent human being? And then also, who believes in Jesus? Who is sincere? All right. When you go to the singles group at church, that's about the worst place to find a woman for marriage. Because half the time they're going to be a washed up 30-something single mom, and they're cafeteria Christian, and he better this and that. And then I forget the passages, but they conveniently forget anything. Was it James? Any of the passages where, obey your husband.
Oh man, there are so many.
Well, there's several. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anything that calls upon you, throw those passages at them and say, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And see how they react. That's the quickest test. But they have to be a Christian woman, not a poser coming in there because they've alienated and burned all their other bridges down in society, that the Christians are the only ones that'll take them in. So you got to choose the right woman, which is critical. Be hot. I forgot what the other one was. Find the right. Hot,
ask out a bunch of women.
Ask out volume. Yep, volume.
Yeah.
Find the Christian gal. Continue to be hot.
That's worthwhile.
Yes. And by hot, I don't mean just go to the gym. Well, Mike, you got a house, I presume, right?
Oh yeah, I've got a few. Yeah, it's good.
You got tools?
I sure do.
Do you let the house go to pot and leaky roofs and the weeds grow in the yard, or do you take care of it?
I take care of it. And the things that I don't want to take care of, I go ahead and hire appropriate people to take care of it on my behalf.
Take care of the house. I know it ain't sexy, but it actually is. Fix the car. Make sure it's not like every little bit of dust has to be picked up all over the place, but provide for your family. Provide for your woman. And I'm not even talking necessarily financially, although I guess that too, but make it so your life operates and there's no problem. Like, oh, the heater went out. I'll fix that. Oh, the car's that. I'll fix that. And I will say, being a handy carpenter or a mechanic, my girl's been turned on by instances where, like, I've patched a tire on the side of the road and we're off to the races 15 minutes later. So actually being a man and playing a masculine role, serving your family, helping out the family and all that. Well, you play D&D with your kids,
Sure do.
Like that. Okay. Go be a guy, go be a man. I don't know, shoot guns, something. And then the fifth thing, gosh, I don't know. You do those four things, you should be fine. I guess with the fifth thing, I don't know, just spank your wife in the ass, like kind of let her know, pinch her. You say, hey, that closet is unattended. I mean, no, I wouldn't advise getting arrested. But yeah, if you got a minivan and got a couple minutes, run the idea past her, just let her know, like, hey, kids aren't coming out for a while. You want to, and then it's not that you have to actually go have sex in the minivan, but the fact you ran it past your wife, and that is enough to just be sexually flirtatious with her. I think that would go a long way. Be dirty. Be dirty. That's why. Be dirty. Be naughty.
There you go. That's a good one. It just reminds me of the idea of the hamster wheel that's constantly going in the back of women's minds. Is a lot of times you go ahead and you be dirty earlier on in the day, and then you get rewarded for it later. It doesn't matter if you do the thing right away. A lot of
Right.
times you're just building up to something cool later.
Yeah, you go buy her cute little lingerie out. Oh, I got you a gift. And like, oh, really? What'd you give me? Oh, this gift. Like, this isn't for me. You're like, oh, it isn't. Just anything cute and fun. Yeah.
Oh man. So this has been an awesome time sharing the thought process of what led you to write this book. What else do you have on the menu coming up?
Oh, for writing?
Yeah.
Oh, but hang on. I might even have my list here.
Because you said that this is like the start of you going ahead and going into a different like writing style where you're going more for essay length stuff. You're going more for like a quick edit where it's 95%, where you're not waiting for every I to be dotted, every T to be crossed. That if you get it 95% out, you're going to get the wisdom that you want to get out in the world faster. Because otherwise you won't be able to.
I'm not kidding. I got 20 different topics.
Oh, wow.
All written. Yeah. And I wasn't joking about that. Like, I don't have the life expectancy to do a full, thorough job. Right. So, coming up in mind, they're across the board. I want to write and they're all essays. I don't want to call them books because this isn't a book. This is an essay. The perfect 25-year-old, teaching young people how to get to the point where I was at 50 by the age of 25.
Oh, that's a great topic.
Yeah. What else? Can we curse on this show?
You can curse a little bit.
Okay.
You're good.
I really want to write a scathing, you're a fat, unfuckable pig, and you're going to die alone because no one wants to love you. A really harsh like that. God, there's
that'll ruffle some feathers. But I think guys are used to being talked to like that at this point.
Yeah. They're very short, pithy, Dear America, go fuck yourself. Sincerely, Gen Z. That's more about the labor market and how they have nothing to look forward. Younger people in general, and how the institutions within America, whether that's government, corporations, like you really need to start considering younger people and what younger people can do, because the old people aren't going to really get off their ass and do anything. But yeah, short, punchy, fast. Like, so if I were to die, I'd be like, well, at least I got those out and threw a couple punches back. So, and then like I said, I have my list back at home, and it's a lengthy list, but there'll be more coming. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's been an outstanding time with you, Aaron. Is there any other things that you want to go ahead and promote on your side while you have the opportunity?
As it pertains to a Christian audience, not particularly. I guess, 2 companion pieces that would help with this. I would say this. Christian or not, Western men in general, you're going to have to realize a lot of women just aren't conditioned to get married. A lot of you are not going to get married. This is a point in time. You could say maybe God is testing you or whatever, but I think we're going at a point in history here where just they're forecasting 45% of marriage age women aren't going to get married. So in addition to your religion, one thing would be the menu, Life Without the Opposite Sex, which is also a short, pithy book that I wrote, and it's in the menu format. It's like a menu, and it goes through all the things to live in life outside of family and kids. So that's a practical one. And then I think a very important one for all men, but particularly Christian men, so you get rid of the rose-colored glasses, is go pick up my book, The Book of Numbers, Analyzing the ROI and the Pursuit of Women. Because that is just a statistical study, an actuarial study, where me and an actuarial buddy of mine, we went and pulled all the data and the statistics on response rates, match rates, date rates, flake rates, marriage, divorce, happiness studies, all that, and put together a pretty impressive model, I might say, that spits out all this data that shows you, okay, what is your percent chances of being happy? What are your percent chances of finding a quality marriageable woman? So that you are aware just how few marriageable women out there, what you're looking at in terms of percent chance of success with women and what it's going to cost you. So I think that's a very sobering statistical analysis that you probably read. And then that will make you appreciate a good wife if you got one. So you really cherish her if you have one.
That was the first book of yours that I had read, and I thought that was an amazing thing. And it's funny because when I read it, it was maybe about 6 months after I had seen the female delusion calculator on Fresh and Fit one time. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is like the opposite, but like more rigorous version of that calculus.
I know the guy who did that, and not to slam on the guy, he did not back out the covariation. So it's not as bad as that calculator shows. But
Right,
yes,
but it gives you an idea, right? Because when you go
Yes.
ahead and you overlay some of these things, there's going to be some commonality where the top tier of guys are going to have a lot of these characteristics together. Like it's very often that someone that is 6'1" and makes a lot of money will have the mental fortitude to know that he probably shouldn't be obese,
right.
for example.
Yes. Yeah.
And so like the way that they overlay it may not be a true representation, but it gets close enough to get the raw idea out there so that you can go ahead and work backwards from there.
Yeah, that's like a blood pressure test. Mine is full analysis and blood work with a full report. So that one that'd be very practical for your audience to read.
Awesome. And if you want to go ahead and shoot me any links to those with your commission code, by all means, I'll go ahead and put them in the description and all that.
Just pull them off the internet. That's fine.
Okay. I just want to go ahead and make sure that you get, a bigger share of it, whenever possible. So, hey, Aaron, thank you so much for taking the time to go ahead and join me and to talk about your amazing book. And I just tell the audience, hey, it's definitely worth it. I read it in an afternoon. I had a great time with it. And Aaron spent a good amount of time writing it and really putting the analysis both from the secular side and from putting on like a set of Christian glasses. Because you kind of discount how much like scriptural work you put into this work. Because I was really impressed that even though it may have been.
I want to avoid Christian ping pong.
Sure.
I want to avoid, according to this. And I'm like, no. So, I mean, my old man, because he's pastor, I had other theologians and other people help me with this. So, because I'm not an expert on it. And it was very confusing. And I didn't want it to just be copy paste passages. So
I think you did a really good job of putting it together. Just because you hit the common core of what was going on. And sure, I think somebody could go ahead and say, oh, and play the ping pong game. But you have put so much meat there that it's somewhat difficult to honestly contend with without coming in with an agenda up front.
Right. And so that's why the intellectual honesty came in, but also there's just too many denominations of Christianity. I remember like you're going to say this, you're going to say this, you're going to, here's what the Bible says. You guys figure it out. So I do kind of leave it up to the individual Christian to interpret it however they want. But I ain't got time to play Christian ping pong against 7 different denominations and 30 different sects within the denomination. So I kind of avoided that hornet's nest as best I could.
Yeah, I think you did an excellent job navigating that. And I mean, you're just a great writer. And, I've seen you develop over, decades at this point. Shoot, your posts, you started posting what, in 2003? Or a little bit earlier than that?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah. So you've got 2 decades of work and it shows, right? And if I were to go ahead and start writing now, man, I would hope to be like anywhere close to, you at year 5, in a few years. But I just really appreciate the work that you put in.
When we're 60, if you start now, you'll be here. It's because it took 20 years.
Sure. I mean, just like anything else in life, it takes work. And you've clearly put in the work. And I just really appreciate the work that you've put in. And I think that men across the world can go ahead and really benefit from a lot of the messages that you bring forward.
Well, thanks for saying that and having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining in. And I hope you have a fantastic day, Aaron.
Thanks.
All right. So I hit the end stream button.